Here we go.
I look forward to the days when you come around. I mean, I want to do this on my own. I'm watching you, and I'll make sure we never leave this place. I know. So step up close and drop your guard.
That's a good way to get started with the A game today. I'm Rob Ackenpour from the Shared Universe Studios here on the Jersey Shore. Yes, this little snippet of Adam Kowalczyk's band, Adam and the Weight, going back a few years. We got new music from him. We will talk about that and many other things. And of course, if you look in the background there, there's that little band called Live that Adam was a part of. Yeah, the other side. There you go. From his bunker in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Adam, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your patience. We had a few technical problems just before we got on here.
No problem, Rob. I get it. I work in the tech field now, and I get it. I get it.
And you're somebody who kind of studied this. You went to Temple, and you were getting into radio and TV and all the technical stuff, right?
Well, I wouldn't say study much. I was in there a year and a half, but I think I studied more about music and partying than I did radio, television, and film, to be honest with you.
That sounds like my time at Catholic University, pretty much. They're like, worked at the local bar 5 blocks off campus. It's more like, hey, what did you master in? Shots and Beer 201. Thank you very much.
And you, I'm sure you graduated with honors.
So much so that I do a segment here called Random Shots. And yes, I think I've got the bottle over there that my engineer CJ will get that when we get to that segment.
Oh, nice.
I know, a little early for that. But first, we got to start with the coffee. But tell me about the very beginning. Let's go to the very back. You were somebody who was trying to establish yourself as a singer-songwriter, and you've been doing that pretty much on and off much of your career. But how did, Ed approach you about becoming a part of Live when you became a part of Live?
Sure. I think, well, before that, I got the bug, in fourth grade with chorus, and then the bug grew bigger when I watched, Ed play guitar. And from that point on, I just wanted to learn how to sing and play guitar at the same time so I could write my own songs and express myself. But I think fast forward, and it was trumpet from fourth grade to my senior year. And I had a band when I was 18 called Portion, or maybe a little bit earlier than that. And I would come home from Temple. We were talking about Temple, and I would come home on the weekends just to do that. So studying really wasn't an option. I got more out of sweating it out in a dirty garage, playing really loud, than I did trying to learn stuff in college. From there, I had a bunch of different part-time jobs and was working at a countertop manufacturing facility in the front office. And I think I recall Chad Taylor calling the work office number. And I was like, what? Hey, man, how are you? And I was on hold with like 4 other clients of this company. And they were thinking about, having somebody play Ed's rhythm guitar parts and singing some background.
Right.
He said, hold on a minute. Click, and cut off all the other 4 clients. It just said, all right, I'm listening. You have my attention now. And I said, well, of course I'm interested. I know a lot of material, obviously, because, I'm a big fan and very close to them. And I rehearsed about 6 months in this facility, this bank that they owned in Lancaster City, by myself with a big PA rig and the record and all the recordings, distance to hear from that record up to the more recent stuff. For 6 months, and then I tried out in Lidditz, I think at a Claire facility. We had a rehearsal set up, and went in and we ran a bunch of songs. I think Vine Street and Meltdown and some of the big hits as well. And I think the special moment for me was when during one of them, Ed looked over and he was like, just keep singing. Keep singing. I guess he knew that I could play rhythm, but just keep singing all those harmonies that he wasn't used to hearing,
Right.
And I think after about 5 songs, they went outside and had a little powwow, and they came back in, and without saying anything, Ed put up his, he put up like 2 thumbs up in front of his shirt. And I was like, oh boy, here we go.
That's interesting that you actually had a tryout for this. So this was not a given, even though it's like, here's your brother.
Yeah, I worked for it. I mean, I put in a lot of hours to get familiar with the newer material. I had already known Throwing Copper, and I knew a lot of the older stuff just in case they would play them. Right. I was ready.
No, definitely. No, I think that's a good part to bring to the forefront? Because I think some people would think, well, because your brother's at Kowalczyk, this was an automatic. You're automatic. The fact that you really did have to go through the process and beat out other people to
Yeah,
become
there
a
was.
part of it. I mean, that's got to be more satisfying than it's like, here, you know this. Here's the job. You really had to earn it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I put in, and then when it comes to the shows, I mean, it was the most challenging part, I think, professionally of that occupation is the waiting. You have to wait all day. You travel wherever, you wait all day to get that hour and a half, 2 hour set, and it is everything. It's everything. And I think I did 105%, 110% I put in when it was go time. Um, so I'm really proud of the shows that we did while I was there with them.
Yeah, that was a 10-year run that was going on in your life, and the great thing about it is looking back on where you were with the band. I mean, the band was firmly established at that point. Dolphins Cry becomes this
Huge.
monster hit, potentially. I would say the biggest hit of the band's career commercially when it comes to sales and then variety of airplays and a variety of formats. So you're kind of coming in right in a sense the peak of where the band was.
Well, that could be up for debate. I mean, as far as
Well, I know
rock,
people will say Lightning Crashes may have been the peak, but I mean, I'm just a personal fan of Dolphins Cry, but I also know
me
that
too.
was a single that sold. That was a one that was like, okay, it's on rock, it's on alternative radio, it's on
Yeah.
AAA radio, it was on hot AC radio. It was becoming this multiple format thing that when you're being a part of it, it had to feel like, wow, what a
Oh
time to
yeah.
be here.
Oh, it was amazing. And that Distance to Here was the record that I came on board with.
Yeah.
And I think remembering back when I first started, and I think it was our fourth show. I think it was my fourth show with them, third or fourth, and it was RFK Stadium in DC for the yeah, for the
Wait a minute, RFK Stadium, was that by any chance the HF Festival?
yes, it was
I had a feeling.
massive, and it was
That for anybody
80,000.
yeah, forgive me for interrupting, but for anybody who doesn't know, this was this annual event that radio station WHFS in the Baltimore, Washington area would do, and you're talking 65 to 75,000 people, and there you are on stage, and knowing that you got a loyal fan base in that crowd, so that had to be like, okay, deep breath, this is gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
it was well. That part of that was walking in through where where the football players run out through that vestibule area, and the band's walking out, and I'm close to my brother, right beside him, and I see the threshold and I see the wall people, and I'm like, oh boy. And I look over at him and went, and he just, yep, here we go. That was amazing.
Not like he was giving you advice of like going, hey, welcome to the band, don't fuck it up.
Yeah, talk about pressure. No pressure, kid. 24 years old, 24.
Oh wow. So interesting when I look at your run, when you decided to step away. I mean, it was a combination of this is where family came involved. You were about to become a father when you were kind of stepping over, or was your daughter just about being born at that point?
No, it was prior to her being born. It all came together in sort of a strange crux of events with live disbanding, and Ed wanted to make a solo record and go out and do
Right.
his own thing, and then there was a lot of animosity between them because of that, I'm sure. And I think that's a natural occurrence. But I mean, if you have a passion to want to play different songs, different material, try different instrumentation, different musicians, different people, it's something that I've benefited from trying throughout my career, if you will. I've
Yeah.
played with a bunch of different types of personalities and people, and I think there's something very, very special about that. And I was proud of it. I know in Jersey, actually, I think our last live show somewhere in Jersey was like the Roundabout venue. Oh God, I can't remember.
The PNC Bank Arts Center, possibly.
Maybe it was a smaller kind of theater-esque club vibe.
Oh, maybe the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, maybe?
No, it's not Stone Pony. You play in the round, like you play down on the floor, and people are seated around you, and the stage spins.
Yeah, see, that's
find it
throwing
out.
me. That's
And
throwing me.
we played that, and I remember after show, because I knew I had a feeling this was going to be kind of a changing of the tide, if you will.
Right.
I said to him in the dressing room afterwards, I said, hey, regardless of what transpires, thank you for this opportunity. It's been amazing. I had a great ride. Because I knew that shit was gonna go down.
Yeah, it's interesting how you kind of you caught the whole vibe of like, well, because you're in it, and you just kind of know it's like going, okay, here it is. This is going to be it. And ironically, New Jersey of all places.
Yeah, right. Damn it.
Damn it. And I'm glad you know the Stone Pony. I mean, I think that was the first time I actually saw live, come to think of it, when
Classic.
they first came
Yeah,
through.
great venue. Great
Yeah.
rock venue. I remember how hot it was in there. Always hot in the Stone Pony.
It's true. Very, very true. They've gotten the ventilation a little better because they took part of the back wall out. Now it's like a garage, so it ventilates better. But back then, when you probably played, if I remember correctly, it's like, okay, it's a sweat box.
Yeah. Ceilings dripping. It was hot, man.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, it's sort of the charm of it and the history of the pony. So you understand when you came into it, it's like going, okay, this is a great feeling. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of hard to compare it to another place that's by you, but I know the history of the Chameleon. And that's
Sure,
also
sure.
got, there is a similar history that if you're coming through that area, you got to play the Chameleon.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I think they sold it and I don't believe it's going to be a rock venue anymore. Yeah.
Oh, man. The times that we live in, unfortunately.
I mean, God, you imagine having to upkeep that facility?
Good point. Good point.
Mhm.
Adam Kowalczyk is here on the A game. Speaking of weird times, I mean, obviously during the pandemic, trying to stay sane, was music sort of the haven or was it family? What were the things that kept you going during this crazy time?
I think a combination of both. Primarily with the girls, my daughters, and my wife. It was more of a time to reflect. And I got to be frank with you, I was okay with everything being shut down. I was fine with it. I mean, what do you need? What do people really need? And
Right.
that's, if you have a shelter, thank God you have a shelter. You have food to eat, thank God you have food.
Amen.
But I mean, like going to Target for nothing and walking around for an hour. Don't need that. So I thought it was a great time to reflect on what's important,
Yeah.
and music was part of that as well. I spent a lot of time in here in my house
Yeah.
writing, tracking ideas, and it's not until recently that I started branching out and having people play on some recent recordings here. But I would say primarily it was the focus on family,
Yeah.
because it was a strange time. I mean, how do you explain that to children? How do you?
I can't even imagine. I unfortunately don't have kids. I can't even imagine what it is like to sit down, talk with your daughters, and say, "Hey, here's what's going on in the world. This is the reason why we're where we're at, and hopefully we'll all come together as a unit. We're all going to get through this."
Sure, yeah, that was the plan. That was the goal. I'm not so sure we're shining too bright on the other end of this, but
yeah, I know.
I think where I work. I don't know if I told you this, but I work for a school district here in Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and I work in the tech department. That's why I was giving you all those pointers on restarting and
yeah. This is the nightmare we were dealing with here, but just one of those things that does happen. I appreciate your patience on that.
No
Right,
problem.
definitely.
But they were I was going to say they're flying the flag at half mast, and I had asked why, and it seems we had just crossed 1 million COVID deaths in our country, and it's just like you think about that time. It's like okay, so it was tough and it was challenging, and people were going through a lot of potentially financial hardships.
Sure.
You didn't die.
Amen. Yeah. I mean, it's
Everything's
tough, but that's a good perspective to put on it. It's like, hey, we're still here. We're still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how rare it is to have a life, to be on this planet.
Well, I think that's the reason I do the things that I do. And I think when you only have one life, you want to try to do what you're passionate about. And I would imagine that's also a part of why you stick around the music and still do it. And even though it may not be at the level of where you were, like you said, being at RFK Stadium and playing in front of 75,000 people, having Adam and the Weight is still that creative outlet. And you need that creative outlet for your life.
Absolutely. It's the dream, it's part of having the dream. People would indicate that I did live the dream, and sure, it was definitely dreamy and those big things. It certainly didn't feel like real life,
I can imagine what it must have been like when it's like, okay, you're on the road, and then you're coming home to your wife, and you're trying to have this life. And you were somebody at one point who was living in LA. So you've seen both sides of this, where you've lived out in the West Coast, being in La La Land and living that life, and then coming back to Pennsylvania, just not that far, growing up in York, going to Lancaster, not that far away. So it is sort of a different vibe, but I gather it's a vibe that you really have embraced and be like, hey, this is my comfort zone. I'm happy to be right where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. And that experience has given me perspective. I mean, I've had to, when I got the call that Live was disbanding in a sense, and Ed was going to focus on doing some different types of things.
Right.
And I was like, cool, and it was a huge blow. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had
Had to
been.
be. Had to
It
be.
was like a huge like, but it was also strangely like, wow, it's kind of invigorating because it's scary. You know, it's like
No, I understand that
what
definitely.
am I gonna do? I'm like, ah. And I remember stopping. I was sitting at a red light or something, and I just said to God or the universe, just like, I need you to put me where you want me to be. And
Yeah.
there I
I'm
was.
glad you said that because I kind of feel like that's where I'm at in my life, and I've kind of just not that I'm asking for anything, but just like wherever you're guiding me, please guide me to the right place.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that exactly where you are is where you're supposed to be. You know?
I'm starting to realize that more and more, my friend, without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Adam and the Weight is his band. It is a project that you've done. It's been in different incantations as far as the timeline is concerned. But during the pandemic, you actually recorded some new music. And obviously, as we talk about staying sane, family, then music, here's the musical part that was probably like, oh, this is nice. Okay, I can come down here, like go on your computer. And I would imagine, were you recording everything separately or,
Well,
especially?
yeah. Well, I had met some fellows through a local photographer that we hit it off, and I went into their studio downtown in Lancaster. And I remember the drummer at the time. He said, "Well, nice to meet you." We talked for like 3 minutes. He was like, "Well, let's just play." So we started playing, and I was like, "Oh boy, I haven't done this in years. I haven't sat down with my songs and brought them to the table." And these guys were, they're great musicians, good people, and we tracked about 5 to 7 songs, and I put
Mhm.
out two of them under a different name, Hello, and I found out somebody else had that name, and I was like, "Ah, I'm
Oh,
just gonna avoid it,"
yeah.
and then pulled everything offline, and now I'm gonna repackage it, if you will, as Adam in the Way, because in my journey, if you will, in my musical journey, Adam in the Weight has always meant me. It's my stuff.
Sure.
It's the path. It's the path that this musical relationship that I have takes,
Yeah.
regardless of who's on it. I think that the experience is um, it's the most important. It's like regardless of who you're playing with, regardless of who wrote the songs, it's
Right.
the experience. It's the experience of music that we have as listeners,
Yeah.
and it's the strange experience some of us have as writers, songwriters.
And the good thing about it is that you can enjoy the music. And also, I'm going to pull this photo up for some merchandising.
Ooh,
Visit Adam at the Weight, adamandtheweight.com to find out more. The new tracks are on there. So is the merchandising. You can enjoy that. And thanks to Adam, and because I visited the website. And before I get into the new song, let me go back to the old song that we started the show with, a
sure.
little snippet. Look Forward was something I was listening to and like going, my favorite from your past, because it's not live. Let's get that straight because I know what happens. As somebody who's been in radio for 25 plus years, we have a tendency of trying to say, you sound like this, you sound like this. And we always are trying to compare it. Kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah,
And
sure.
when I'm listening to a song like that, it's like, you can hear a little bit of live, but then I hear a little bit of Emerson Hart from Tonic in the vocal as
Mm.
well. But then I hear the harmonies. I'm going, Evan and Jared. Throw all this in a blender. There's Adam and the Weight.
All right, cool. That's a very nice compliment. Thank you. It's if I like I said to someone else before, it's like if I had a couple bucks for the times that I've heard people say, "Hey, you sound like Ed." Like, well, shit. I mean, we're related. What do you want from me, man? Let me cut my
Same
vocal
gene
cords.
pool, people. Hello.
I mean, I think Ed sounds pretty damn good. So
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly. It does. First off, it does sound pretty damn good. And the interesting thing is, somebody who's listened to a lot of live music over the years, playing it on the radio and all this stuff, and I listen to you. I listen. There is a slight, and it is slight. I mean, very similar, but there's
Hmm.
enough difference where it's like I think Ed has a little more bass and a little more growl, and you just more. And I hate to use the term pop because some people take that term pop as a bad thing. And I'll ask you in a second as far as your take on it. But there is a pop sensibility about your voice that lends well to what you're doing. So let me ask about the term pop. Do you consider the term pop a bad thing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, depends. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about things like songs that cross over
Yeah.
that might have started on a different format, cross over and become a huge hit. Well, you
Yes.
could say that, man, that's popular. It's part of popular culture during this year or this top 100 and Billboard or whatever the hell it is. It's
Exactly.
become pop. You know what I mean? If you just think about it as a song, well, if it's just somebody sits down and plays it to you with an acoustic guitar, you wouldn't necessarily categorize it.
Right.
But if you produce it to be a certain way, well, then sure. And then they add the success level, it becomes pop music.
And I think that's the thing with what you and your brother was doing with live, it was not like you went to pop. Pop came to you, which is sort of
Yeah.
got to be the best feeling in the world when it's like, look, we didn't change what we were doing. We may have done a couple of different things, but it's like we were still doing what we're doing. Just everybody else kind of came to the party. And it's like that's what, like you said, when things become popular. And
Absolutely. I mean, those like a hit's not a hit song until it's a hit song. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not one person writing the song in their bedroom that makes it a hit. You know, it takes a lot of people. It takes a team. It takes, you know, a lot of fans. Live was very, very fortunate in that regard, and that they had, I will say it, that they had Ed penning all those massive songs. I mean, just put them out. It was like a universal machine inside of him that would just put that heart into it and deliver. And it's just very lucky as well. You know?
Well, let's take it to your writing process. Did you learn anything, you know, writing now, coming off, you know, working 10 years with live? Do you feel like you learned something even more about songwriting at this stage of life?
I don't know. I think at times so much. I struggle with self-doubt that I think it's quite a bit of it could be pretty mediocre, you know. But then I'll think about it and I'll listen back. And I'm like, nah, man, that's good. That sounds pretty good. I like that. I should like that. I should be proud of that. I don't know if the process has changed, really. I don't think I was itching to keep doing it, making it the major focus of my life after I left live, because it was such a change in pace, and I had to get a real job, if you will.
Real job, of course. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You know, I had to enter that workforce and deal with all these people saying, you know, wow, you played in live, blah, 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 blah. It was, I don't recommend it to anybody, but I got through it, and you know, and life moves on. You know, the music doesn't stop. The music doesn't have to stop. But I did take a small break in it. And then when I had this space to get away from responsibilities of family and the 9-to-5 deal, I realized how important it was to me to have the outlet, regardless of what level, you know.
Well, I'm glad that you are doing the music. We're going to fire up the video right now. It's a lyric video. There is a warning on here, because if you are somebody that certain images are just flashing and it may cause seizures, we're giving you fair warning. So take a second as we give it from Adam and the Weight, and you can find this also on the website, adamandtheweight.com. Feel free to buy the song if you like it. Let's fire it up. This is The Beauty and the Black Sheep. Adam and the Weight, Adam Kowalczyk here on the A Game.
is my story even possible?
Adam and the Wade here on the A game. Beauty in the Black Sheep. Interesting that you were able to use those quotes the way you did in the song. I mean, was that difficult to kind of get the? I mean, see, that's where I get confused as far as when it comes to copyright. You know, I know
yeah,
that
I'm waiting for everybody to sue me. I think, what am I gonna do? You know, they were up on the website, they were on the internet, so I just took them. I have a feeling that I won't get sued. I don't know. I hope not.
Well, you know what, CJ, it's funny you was talking about being sued. CJ, give me photo number 3 for a second, because this was his Adam's posting. Not that it has anything to do, but he said, "I'm going to spill the beans on my shirt while eating." Basically, he's going to let it all fly. Well, I think in a sense that song kind of does let it all fly when you think about it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen. I think that anybody that saw those, I mean, good Lord, if Obama saw that, I'd be like, "Come on, man. Tell me it's crap and I'll remove it." You know, if you don't believe in what you said and you don't want people to repeat it, you know,
right?
Maybe you shouldn't say it. But anyway, I hardly think that will happen.
No, I don't think so.
Everybody else got a lot going on more than that.
Rockin' song.
Proud of that song. I wanted to say
you should be proud of that song. That's really good.
That song was co-written with Corey Gable, the drummer that played on those few songs, and he's a great songwriter. He brought that to me, and I think during the lockdown, I put together the lyrics and we put together some of the melody patterns within the studio and tracked it here in Lancaster, and it was mixed by Daniel Malsh. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to finally get it finished and be able to share it with people, regardless of the fact that I'm not so sure I have a band to deliver it right now, because people are busy. And
see, therein lies the next question. Was you trying to think about maybe hitting the road this summer, maybe on a limited run?
I would love that. It would have to be right, and the boss would have to be on board. You know,
New Jersey. I understand.
The kids will be fine with it, but I'm not so sure about the misses. I mean, a short run, sure.
Yeah.
4 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe 4 days on, 3 days off, that kind of thing. Yeah.
3 months, unless, like Foo Fighters needs an opener. Yeah, man, totally.
Have your girls seen you perform live?
They have. I think the one that the most recent was probably here in Lancaster at a theater opening for Blues Traveler.
Nice.
And it was American Music Theater here in Lancaster.
Oh God, it's such a great venue. I know it. Yes.
Yeah. And that one, what it was special about the onset of that first the Low project, ALOW, before it transitioned into Adam and the Wait, was that most of it was organic. The attention we were getting, the local attention was all organic. It was like, oh, this is cool. I dig it. Here's an opportunity. And Brandon Martin from American Music Theater reached out. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. You're not turning that down, man. I mean, that
I thought about it.
Really?
Yeah, I thought about it. Just because I didn't know if it was the right time, I didn't know.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Hey, we are up to random shots with Ed Kowalczyk here on the A game. Now, when I do random shots, I usually try to take a random shot. So what did I find here? I found some pensive bourbon, so it's going to be a short shot because it is still early and I haven't drank enough coffee. But in honor of you coming on, I say cheers to you. Thank you again for doing this.
Cheers.
There you go. That'll wake you up. Okay. This is based on things that I've dug up on your life and whatever else. Yes, I basically stalked your social media. That's why I friended you on Facebook.
Okay. Well,
All
be warned, I might not answer at all, but
No, no,
go
no,
for it.
no, no, no. Look, like we say, you'll spill the beans, but anything to get you in legal trouble, we got to cross. We got to say no. We can't go there, but we
Appreciate
can
it.
go here. CJ, there's a video I want you to play because I don't know if you're aware of this, Adam. Yeah, it's my Alexa, and I did this right underneath the show. You know what? I'll take it.
No, I got it.
Okay,
You ready?
fire it up. Hey Alexa, play "The Dolphins Cry" by Live.
The Dolphins Cry by Liv on Amazon Music.
Have you noticed that she can't even pronounce the band's name?
I do not. I got rid of one. I bought one of those and I got rid of it years ago.
Just for that reason. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, more so because you could just tell it to buy stuff for you and it shows up at your house. It's like,
yeah, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't order the Peloton. What's going on here?
No thanks. No thanks.
Smart move. Unfortunately, I'm a music junkie. I haven't had that problem yet, but I better keep an eye on that.
Yeah, sure.
In your travels, and you've traveled with Live, you've actually traveled as a solo act and been really all across this globe. Has there been a favorite country that you've stopped off in?
Oh man, I would say in Live's travels, there were a few that stick out. Live's relationship with their fans in Holland and Australia was always really magical.
About this, yeah, chart wise in the Netherlands, you guys had a lot of hits in the Netherlands.
Huge, and I'm finding that people still care. You know, like they care about Live. They care about what I'm doing, and I'm sending this new stuff. I just got a guy in Australia that sent me a request to have some stuff, and he made it, which was phenomenal. He made a donation that's going to help me with this project, help me with the rest of the record.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to ship this stuff down to him directly. And it's those relationships that Live had that kind of seeped into my relationship with them as well. And I think Holland and Australia and South Africa was amazing. Sometimes I kick myself for not moving to one of those places years ago because I could have, potentially could have been seen as, Michael Stipe or Bono or something of that level just by doing Adam Kowalczyk, whatever. But I stayed put in the good old USA, and we're just doing this.
Right. As you stay put in Lancaster, for people who don't know, Lancaster basically may have as many diners per square mile as Jersey does. But with that in mind, there's a very important question that must be asked. Is it the diner or the Waffle House? What's your choice? Pick your poison.
Oh, the diner, hands down. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of history in most of the diners that you see. The buildings themselves are very old, and they look like old school ice cream shops, and that's the vibe. There's one actually an eighth of a mile right up the hill from our house that Justin Bieber came to the other month when he was doing rehearsals in Lidditz. That's about as famous as that diner has gotten, I'm sure. But they're everywhere.
I can remember I was working in radio in Wilmington, Delaware at WSTW, and my ex-girlfriend and I, we would take the drive to Lancaster, cut through Kennett Square, take the back roads, literally going on a road where there basically was the horse and buggy lane and potentially could be passed by the horse and buggy. But, excuse me, I remember this one diner as you're coming into Lancaster, and it was like by the time you ate the meal, you didn't eat for 3 more days. I mean, they feed you.
Oh,
my God.
Huge plates. There's one, I think you're coming into Lancaster, it's called Neptune Diner. And it's probably still there. It's on the right. When you say coming into Lancaster, I'm imagining that's the one you probably ate. I have a story about that. My wife and I ate there years and years ago, and we had I don't know if we were married yet or not. Anyway, we had a big night out, and we ended up going there, eating. I think we were still dating, and we sat in the back, and it was a little too warm in there. It was a little too humid.
Okay.
And there was a dude sitting about 3 tables from us, just devouring food, and I mean the noises, the sweating.
Oh,
we're a little hungover, and this guy is just housing his food, and it's audibly annoying and disgusting. And we were like, we're out.
Don't blame me.
I might vomit this food we just bought back up onto the table. So we bounced. Anyway, that's the Neptune Diner.
Except for that one guy, but that's good story, by the way, though.
Thank you.
As a musician, you probably grew up with a lot of different forms of music, but what record would surprise some of your fans that you gravitated toward at one point in your life?
I think one of the ones that was probably really poignant for me, when I saw Live becoming to get really, really famous
Yeah.
was Jeff Buckley's Grace.
Oh,
That one really spoke to me. There was something about when that video came out. I stood in my bedroom and was just like, what am I watching? Like, thank the Lord that something like this is on the television. This guy is phenomenal. And wasn't he was obviously fantastic,
yeah.
but all of the elements were there. It was all raw, it was all original, it was all beauty, and the whole record did that. And that was one that really stuck with me forever.
I'm working at a radio station called WHTG FM 106.3, alternative station, Jersey Shore. Handed the single Grace from Jeff Buckley. And when I heard that, and you're hearing the guitar work, and you're just like, who is this guy? And this is before even Last Goodbye even came out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're just blown away. And then he comes to a place called the Trade Winds down here on the Jersey Shore, and everybody's mesmerized. How could you not be? I mean, I feel privileged that I had the chance to see him perform live.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'd have loved that. I remember there was some stories back in New York City when he lived in New York City, and he's playing like, a tiny little coffee shop. Can you imagine seeing Jeff Buckley in a coffee shop with a little Fender Tweed amp and an electric and doing that? Oh,
exactly.
Man. That was a big one for me. Obviously there've been some other ones that I think Octung Baby by U2 was another massive one.
Brilliant album, sure.
Automatic for the People was huge. R.E.M. Monster was huge for me. That came out when I was actually in Temple. And I'll never forget that. When that record came out, man, I turned it up as loud as possible and partied the entire time. I think I was by myself because in my room and whooping it up and had that thing cranked, and that was huge.
Yeah, if you had $1 for every person that mentioned REM in college, you'd be wealthy.
True.
It's really true.
I have a story about Michael Stipe that I'd like to share.
Go for it.
I think Live had played. No, this was before I had started playing with them. Live had played a Governor's Ball or something in DC.
Okay.
And I think it was a Governor's Ball. And Michael was there for the performance. And then we got to meet afterwards. And I was 18, I think. It was 18. And we go to this place near the old 930 Club in DC. And
I know it well, yeah.
Walk down into the basement, and it's a little restaurant. And we had peanut butter and strawberry sandwiches at like 2:30 in the morning.
That's an interesting combo. I've heard the peanut butter banana, but peanut butter strawberry?
Oh, it was pretty slamming. And I sat. It was myself, Chad Gracie, Ed, his girlfriend at the time, and Michael. And we're sitting at this table. And I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this? What? Where am I?"
Blown.
That like three of my favorite singers, because Ed's former girlfriend was a phenomenal singer, Beth, and they were all just big to me. They were huge stars sitting at this table, and I'm 18 and I've got the biggest. They've got these normal little pull-up chairs to the table, and because their chairs were limited, I have this lounge chair. So the table's like this, and I'm just like eating the sandwich. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I remember getting the chills and shivers, and I was like, I gotta go outside. And I went outside, and I was breathing and getting some fresh air. And Michael walks outside, and he said, "Well, you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm just there's a lot at this table. There's a lot of energy and a lot of talent, and it's really kind of moving me." And then I think I think is it Automatic for the People that came out? I will try not to breathe. I can hold my head still with my hands on my knees. And that came out like 2 weeks later. I was like, "Oh, this is my song." It's pretty crazy.
That's amazing. Oh my God, that is a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. Got a couple more of those, but
all right. Well, this one I think you can answer, and this is just me doing a deep dive. Is this true or false? You somewhat influenced the name of Live.
I think so. I think what had transpired was that Ed told me we were still living in New York at my mom's house, and he had just gotten back from Wisconsin or maybe Milwaukee, wherever they track throwing copper. Okay. And he said they got to change the name, or they're debating changing the name, and they did a bunch of things with a hat, and this one was pulled out of the hat live. He said, "What do you think?" I said, I was standing in his bedroom. I said, "I like it." I said, "Just put a line over the I, then people won't mistake it for Liv."
Unlike Alexa, who takes it for Liv, that's another story.
Yeah. In 30 years, Alexa will get it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, Alexa. That's wild. So, But yeah, but that is sort of the distinguishing part. I'm having a hard time saying it, but it's the truth. That's
Yeah.
what really makes it live. That line, it really does.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they actually own the copyright wholeheartedly to live?
Ed, I
That's
need
the
a
first
loan.
party. Oh my God, that sounds insane. Everybody uses live. Anyway, yeah, that was the line. I'll just admit that I had suggested it. Whether or not it is because of me, I don't know.
Yeah, but still, makes for a good story.
Yeah,
Definitely does. Um, your daughters are what? Around your oldest is what? 12?
7 and 11.
7 and 11. Okay, so we're not quite at the stage of the dating process, but how do you think you'll be when your daughter, your oldest daughter, will have her first date?
I'm gonna be right in this room, in the basement, the door closed, and I'll probably weep. No, I'm not sure. I would hope that we're raising girls that are gonna be, you know, they care about themselves wholeheartedly and are confident in who they are
Yeah.
as young women, and they're gonna be responsible enough to make the right decisions. Obviously we all make silly mistakes, but we're doing our best. I think we're close to the big chat.
Ooh.
And I actually volunteered some time last night at a middle school spring fest, if you will, and I'm just like scoping the room, look and see where's my child? Who's she talking to? Is that a boy? Is that a boy? That looks like a boy. But I embarrassed her, and I had to apologize. I embarrassed her on 2 occasions because I didn't want these kids to hurt themselves who were running in the hall.
Right.
And then she just so happened to be walking down the hall right beside me. Man, she was pissed. Woo! She was pissed. But I just think that we're gonna do our best as parents to raise them accordingly to take care of themselves and make right decisions and understand that there are consequences for wrong decisions. That's the best we can hope for, really.
Let me do one more in random shots. Describe York, Pennsylvania in 1 or 2 words.
Oh man. In a negative light, negative connotation, or
Well,
positive connotation?
I'll explain this because any live fan, there's the story off of Throwing Copper that the one song, Heroes Live Down the
Yeah,
Street
sure.
from Me. Yes, we were talking about the song Shit Town.
Sure.
So obviously the folklore is that this song is basically York, Pennsylvania. I don't know. I've never been, but
Mm-hmm.
if you had to put it in a positive spin, I mean, I could go York
Positive spin,
Revolution.
I would say, it's home.
Yeah, there you go.
A positive light is like people work hard. There are a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, Shittown could be anywhere in the world, really.
Well, that's true. It can loan
Um,
itself to a lot of places for
yeah.
sure.
So in that respect, hardworking. That I mean,
Yeah.
and I've gotten to see that, through thick and thin. With my experience with live and touring the world and coming back and working hard again. I never stopped working hard, and I think one of the positive things about York is that you would hope that towns like that all over the country instill the fact that it's you need to work hard. You have to work hard. For to survive, you have to work hard.
It's a good work. I
And
think
that would say they're hardworking. It's a hardworking town, I would say, in the positive sense. Negative connotations, I mean, you could go on and on.
that's another show. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a ton going on, but there's not a ton going on a lot of places, And everybody's definition of what's going on is fleeting, because you could be 45 and raising kids and family, and it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
You could be 18, young and hungry, and want to rule the world. Probably not the place to be.
Yeah.
So
Well said, sir. Let me put up one more photo here, photo number 4, because if you'd like to check out Adam live, here's a chance. Put it up. This is a virtual event called Brainfest 9. I recognize Jimmy Haha from Jimmy's Chicken Shack. What do I do right? Adam's on that bill, and a lot of other very talented people. It's for a great cause, the American Brain Tumor Association. Mark it down, Saturday, May 25th. You can catch it on Facebook Live. So if you're liking what you're getting from Adam here, and if you've never seen him live, here's at least a chance you can see him, just in case he's not hitting the road. So here's a golden opportunity. I'm glad you're doing. Have you done this before by any chance, Adam?
no, I've done just like small Facebook Live things just personally, but I haven't done it where it was part of or affiliated with something else. And it's just the guy Jace Miller reached out. He's a good dude from the Philly area, great band. he and his wife, I believe they were recently married, are putting this together, and I
Right.
think they've done it for a long time. Of course, I've known Jimmy I've known Jimmy since my first band days. We would play in Baltimore area quite a bit. And the Chameleon as well. I've opened up with him. Actually, this project that I have now, I opened up with him 3 years ago, I think.
Remember
At the
seeing him back
Chameleon.
in the day. He was fun. That was the one thing I got off. He was just fun.
They rock, man.
Yeah,
They rock. They always have.
So good stuff for that on the 28th. And we do hope you will hit the road. If you don't, then listen, you got to, again, the website is adamandtheweight.com. You can find the music, find the merchandising, take advantage of it, and deep dive more into the music. You're going to be impressed. Hey, thanks for taking the time and sharing some stories here, Adam. I really appreciate it.
Would love to come back. I got quite a few more. Some I can share, some, maybe off the record.
No, I think what will happen is we'll plan this probably before the end of the year. By that point, you'll probably have another video to share, and then we can do this whole thing all over again.
I'm in. Thanks, Rob.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the time. That's a wrap for the A Game. I'm Rob Acampora. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be back this Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. Don't miss out on that. Be paying attention on Facebook for all the details, and sign up for my YouTube channel so you can catch all the other 77 episodes we've had so far. Until next time, for Adam Kowalczyk, I'm Rob Acampora. Take care.